right, welcome to another episode of the Couch Coaches podcast. We are back after our summer break, and football starts on Thursday. Raiders start on Sunday. We start on Monday, and I'm so fired up. I am we finally got everybody signed. We're paying $1 bajillion. Yeah, we'll get into that later. Deacon Hill, I want to start with you since you are the lone Raider on the show today. We've gone through the preseason. You've seen the games. The depth charts are all set. We're ready to go. How do you feel about your Raiders going into this new season?
I would say I'm optimistic. I'm not really high on them. As far as I see them with a chance to make the playoffs, but I'm a deep run in the playoffs. I'm not really optimistic about that. We finished second in our division last year, Bill, and I think we could at least achieve that. Of course, the Chiefs are the cream of the crop in our division and almost in the league, I guess. But so that's going to be a tough battle there. But I see some improvement, especially on the defensive side. The quarterback position is kind of up in the air for me. Gardner, Minshew, he ended up getting the nod. And as we were talking earlier, I think the only thing that got him that nod is his mobility. I'm not really impressed with his arm strength or his accuracy. So, and we might be seeing our second-year quarterback. He might take over, sometime in during the season. So, but that position, I don't see a real big upgrade on that position. But overall, the team, I feel optimistic. You say we start on the road against the Chargers, and that's almost always been like a home game for us anyway. So I'm not so worried. They got a whole turnover on that in that organization, and we beat them by 60-something. We put 60-something points on them last year. So, and then we come back to Baltimore. We go to Baltimore, and that right there is going to be a challenge for us right there. And then I think who do we have? Then we come home.
In LA.
Back to no, we got Denver.
No, you go. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm down one. My bad.
Who do we
Yeah,
have?
you have Broncos. And you have 3 games on the.
No, we come home to the Panthers.
Panthers. Sorry.
Yeah, we come home to the Panthers. So I see pretty. I can see us starting at 2-1 actually. So we'll see.
Yeah, the thing. Well, Panthers. That's a great home game. That's like if you were gonna pick a homecoming game like in high school. Let's go with the Panthers. That's the one to start with.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Minshew it's like he's a decent quarterback, but the dude is a whole vibe. Like he's like a guy that's gonna be like on TV afterward. Every time they show him, he looks like he's doing some like he's doing like a hair commercial or something. Like he like lives in his RV and does like he's a different dude that seems. I bet he's great to have like in the locker room.
Yeah, I think his veteran presence is and his mobility. That's what kind of won him that job. We'll just see. I think he takes. I ain't gonna say he takes care of the ball because a lot of times he should have some picks should have been thrown. They just didn't complete the play. So we'll see. Hopefully, and he's playing with Adam. We got Devontae is going to be his primary target. So we'll see how that works out.
I would only throw it to him. if you had to pick one, like if you were gonna pick like your biggest concern for the Raiders this season, what would it be?
I'd have to say the quarterback position. I would really have to say that position because they didn't upgrade. That room is not. It's not. You don't have no all pro in the quarterback room. So that would be my biggest concern. Defense is kind of solid. We'll see what the running game is. But my number one concern right now is I got to see that quarterback position. If we can complete some balls and extend some drives, and keep the defense, give them some rest, and I think we could be all right. So I would say my quarterback position is my biggest question mark.
All right, brother Bill. Moving to the Niners. What are your thoughts on the upcoming season after seeing kind of how everything played out with those freaking contracts and going through the preseason, which our preseasons are kind of weird?
I see the Niners, if they can get through week 6 with at least 4-2 or better, then they have a good shot at winning the division. I say that because weeks 7 through 11 are literally murderer's row. They've got the Chiefs, Cowboys, Buccaneers, Seahawks, and then Packers and Bills. And half of their schedule, their opponent is coming off of a bye. So they're going to be playing week to week, and in half of the games, whoever they're playing will have had a week off. So this is not going to be an easy schedule by any stretch. My biggest concern with the 49ers is their second level of their key positions, because guys are going to get nicked up. That's just the nature of football. What caught them this past season was when they had to go to their second string guys, especially on the defensive line. You can't control injuries, but that's my biggest concern. My second concern, I don't know if I'm going to get a lot of flack from the faithful. I say this, is Kyle Shanahan. He has got to relinquish the play calling. It would be great if it happened. I would rather him focus on coaching, because defensive coordinators are going to figure out the book on him. And there are times where he's become too predictable.
Yeah.
Don't he supposed to be this genius guy, though? Ain't that one supposed to be a staple?
What's that?
He's supposed to be this genius play caller, don't he? That's one of his staples. That's what got him the job.
If you watched the Super Bowl, which I know you did, he had no answers for that third quarter. And it's the second Super Bowl where the second half, Spagnuolo, again, he's a true defensive coordinator. He's a Bill Belichick type defensive coordinator. And he shut Shanahan's offense down twice in an entire quarter. That's my concern. At some point, you got to hand it over to someone else. I don't know if the guy they had calling the plays in the preseason, if he's going to call any, but to me that would be, because if they changed everything else, they've got a new defensive coordinator. They've got a quarterback who could win games. They got McCaffrey running back. We got Ayuk signed. The only thing left to change is the play calling on offense.
Yeah, I will say my biggest concern. I mean, one, I feel like with our signings, we're setting ourselves up for we have to win the Super Bowl this year, because we're already $60 million over the cap for next year or something. And that may have been before Trent. The playoffs last year really worried me. And it's I feel like I'm completely torn, because Kyle put together this absolute killer of a team. And Kyle is great at play calling during the season and stuff, all that. No, I mean, it works. What I'm saying is it works. We're winning games. But when he doesn't seem to have we need a drive right now to go score, he doesn't seem to have that in his thing. He needs something that was smoke and mirrors from something 7 drives ago that looks the same, and now it's different here. And I do agree. I think that genius thing should not have applied to him. They should not have put this genius label on him. And I think that's part of the frustration for me is he's supposed to have this genius label, but then I feel like we easily could have lost either of those games going into the Super Bowl. And we should have lost those games. I think if it wasn't for the youth and the size of the moment being too big for the players on the Packers and the players on the Lions, dropping the ball, terrible passes, stuff like that, we could have been knocked out in the first round. And watching that and watching the defense, him call a play, usually a handoff to McCaffrey, him calling a play and then just knowing where just stuffing it. That's not gonna get over the hump. If these exactly like you're saying, are these play calls that the other team knows what he's gonna do. You have the most insane offensive weapons on the field at the same time. There's no reason for you not to get a first down whenever you want to get a first down. And it's the handoffs, and it's this, and it's, they got a block, and Ayuk has to block down the field, and Kittle's got a block. It's design plays to get the balls to your playmakers, not just McCaffrey, because McCaffrey's going to die if we use him as much as we did last year.
The other thing that concerns me is the offensive line. They basically have, Trent Williams is our best offensive lineman. You got the other 4 guys, they're average. And against good defensive lines, and we saw that, right, is our pass blocking. Brock, if he's running for his life, can't win. Just can't win, because the running game is very one-dimensional. It's McCaffrey. Mason is good, but he's a finisher. So, like I said, 12 wins to me could still get you the number 1 seed, because of this past season. but they got it. The key is going to be, to me, that first, quarter and a half of the season to set them up for the rest.
And we don't have a, I mean, like you say, like we don't really have a very tough first part of the season at all. I mean, the Patriots are going to be terrible. The Vikings were going up against our old quarterback, which that can't be bad. The Jets, I think the defense will be tough, but Rodgers hasn't played him forever. And the little bit of mobility you've seen him running around in preseason, he looks slower, which is great for us.
I read something today. They said that the vibe in New York with the Jets ain't that good. They said it's not looking good over there. So we'll see.
Which is crazy because it's like, are they?
Well, you could build a hype. You could hype stuff up until then, like you say, when you actually see it on the field, that changes your vibe.
None of that talk matters. Ask Florida State. We'll get to college, but
oh my goodness,
the talking doesn't matter in sports.
I want to ask you guys this question. Now, this is just my observation of watching Brock this preseason. It might be. I'm eager to see if he's gonna still be on this high, or is he gonna come back down to earth? He didn't look that sharp to me.
He's playing with the third stringers and stuff though too.
Yeah, I mean, you don't think that you've seen enough to get a sense of, there are tiers of quarterbacks, and we talked about this last year. There's Mahomes, top of the heap. I'm trying to think of some other quarterbacks who are at that level. You give him the ball, no matter what, he can win you a game. Brock's not at that tier. Of course not. I mean, you can't expect him to be. A second tier, I mean, why not? I mean, who do you have to beat? What type of teams do you have to play against to say you got a quarterback who you can rely on to execute the play? Might not be perfect, but he's mobile. Most of the time, he makes good decisions. There are a couple throws where it's like, can't throw that in double coverage. I think he's got the savvy and the athleticism to make the plays. And if he has to win you a game, I admit it's a toss-up. But to say now he's going to come back to earth, well, I mean, what is earth to him? You talking? He's what, average?
Irrelevant. That's what earth is.
That was draft, bro. That was draft. That was 3 seasons ago.
I heard that he's a total like tape nerd. So he's coming in like being able to dissect, like he's teaching other guys what the defense is doing and what their offense should be doing. So and he is super athletic. I think as long as he doesn't get injured, because he's not the biggest dude, even though he's got like a strong base, but he's not, whatever he is, he's 6 feet, maybe 6'1".
If he's smart with the ball, that wins a game. With the quarterbacks who are smart with the ball and can make plays and not be dumb with it and throw it all over the place and lose your games, that's the difference between an average quarterback and better than average and elite.
Well, do you think that has something to do with Kyle Shanahan's play calling, with his ability to be smart with the ball? And I mean, at certain points, you have to take risks. You have to win the big game. Those guys, Mahomes, he's throwing the ball all over the field. Those type of quarterbacks, to win the big game, you have to do that. You can't.
If you watch the games where the Niners, especially the playoff games, and granted, yes, that was Green Bay, yes, that was Detroit. I understand all that, but when you're in a tight game and it is a 1-possession game, most of the plays, he made those plays. I mean, and it wasn't like first read, just throw it to whoever's open. He still had to go through his progressions. And especially that Detroit game, when there was nothing, he was scrambling. He was getting key first downs. You have to have that pocket presence to know when to just tuck it and just run and just try to get whatever yards you can. And he has that. And I believe we're going to see that again this year.
Yeah, I like how level-headed he is.
Yeah. Because
he doesn't seem to get to, I mean, he just kind of, like, whether it's a terrible pass or whether it's a big first down, like he'll pump his fist a little bit, but he's like, he seems very like in the moment and like not getting too emotional, which is good, because if he sees it and reads it correctly, he's not going to get too high or too low. Like, I feel like that's one of the things, and maybe with the Ravens as a team, but definitely Lamar as a quarterback, is the dude is so freaking good, but you can get in his head. And as long as you can make him so he's not super comfortable, like he was against us last year and just absolutely demolished us, if you can get in his head, it'll mess him up. And I don't think Brock's that guy. I mean, obviously he had those couple games where it was like wet, and I think it was part of it was his elbow was still kind of messing with him, where he had some pretty horrific throws. But he seems very like stable.
Yeah, the Cincinnati and the Cleveland games to me were two words. I threw out the Ravens because the Ravens just jumped all over us. I mean, that was over early. And yes, there were turnovers in that game, but of the 5 losses, I would say 2 or 3 of them, yeah, he did not play up to the standard that we were used to seeing the rest of the year.
Yeah, no, and both those teams are.
And we didn't have
all
Debo
three
and
of them.
Trent in those games either. That's the other thing. So
And those are killer defenses.
yeah,
I mean, so no Trent and killer defense is not. And Debo is like the ideal dump off guy.
yeah.
Are there any other things you guys are seeing around the NFL that you are looking forward to seeing kind of how it develops?
I'm looking forward to seeing who comes out of the NFC East between the Eagles and the Cowboys, because if the Niners are the the top of the NFC, it's who can challenge them in the postseason. I mean, that's the question in the NFC. We know Detroit gave them a run.
Packers in Detroit.
No, I'm not worried about the Packers. I think that was an aberration. I think it's, and we're gonna find out how good Detroit is, right? But I still think that the East, only because of matchups. You think of styles make fights, and the thing for Philly is we're going to see whether their defense can get it back together, because they collapsed the second half of last season.
Well, their offense too. I mean, I don't think I think it's just good. I think Philly's going to go downhill because I think Sirianni's he is not being able to hold that team together at all.
Well, I see it different, Joe. I think they're going to bounce back, and I think it really rides on Hurst if he could stay healthy, because he had an injury last year, and that had a lot to do with their offense not being able to execute at key points. So I think I look for them to bounce back this year. I actually do. I think they'll take that division. It's going to be. I think it will be between them and Dallas. But if Hurst stays healthy, and they added some more weapons around him, so I think that they could be able to take that division.
Yeah,
I want them to. I don't want Dallas to win, so I would like anybody, but
I just don't believe the Cowboys are going to get any better on offense.
No.
I mean, they're as good as they're going to get. Bringing Zeke back? What? I mean, they shouldn't have let Pollard go in the first place.
Dude, that whole thing with Jer when he's like, "We're going all in," and then just nothing happened. You're like, "Hey, Jared, what did you mean by that? All in? What is it?" Nothing happened.
I'm staying with my guys. That's what that means.
Yeah.
Ask CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb, he said, "You're all in with me. I'm good now."
Yeah, they're like, no CD. Dax, oh man, we gotta.
Hey, I know Bill is a little upset though. Last week, the week before last, he was trying to run IU out of town. You know, he was like, get
Oh,
him
you
out.
fell for hey Greg, you fell for that rope dope. You listen to all that.
Oh, here we go.
You heard me talking. Yeah, I'm glad you bought that. That was rope dope, Joe.
Yeah,
You have
right.
to hear it. I should have recorded it.
That guy, he's not no number one. He's this and that, and all of a sudden now, see, there go to flip flopping.
You fell for it. You fell for it.
Hey, we did just pay $30 million a year for a guy that catches 75 passes a year. That is a heck of a stat line for that. That's a wild number one. Wild.
And then Debo restructured, huh? He helped out a little bit. He restructured his deal. So
Yeah, both Debo and then we also had, I think, one of the guys one of our linemen, they restructured his in order to get Trent's redone for his. So I didn't realize Trent was only in his third of the 6th year, but he wanted more for the remaining 3 years.
Yeah, I guess he was through all of his guaranteed money.
Oh, okay. All right.
And he's old. I mean, this is obviously his last contract because he's 36
right.
or 37.
Right.
I'm interested to see what the Bears do. Because I'm not a big believer on Caleb. I think he's got a lot of, I think skill wise, he's obviously like very good. He feels like a Kyler Murray to me. And I think the quarterback position has to be a leader. And you have through all these pieces, like they have great pieces around. Like I think they're gonna have some very interesting games. And I really do want to see, maybe I could be totally wrong on Caleb.
Hey, I've been hearing some good things out of Arizona, so you might have to be putting some respect on Kyler's name this year. Okay. We'll see.
Kyler, the guy they had to write in a video game clause for his contract.
All right. Okay, I'm gonna laugh when they beat you guys.
I will not.
I will not be laughing
when they beat us. That's really the only team that I mean, obviously the Jets, because I want to see if Rodgers can do anything. I mean, and not that I want them to do well. I actually find their fan base on the radio so annoying. They talk as if they're going to the Super Bowl because the team is just so stacked. It's like, bro, what team are you looking at? It's got a broken Aaron Rodgers and like a solid defense and a coach that will probably be our defensive coordinator next year.
The other team I'm watching, Houston Texans.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
They've got the
Yeah.
quarterback, they've got the defense, they got the running game. Yeah, I mean they came against Kansas City, of course. Yeah, that was tough sledding, but they're legit, and I picked them to win the division again.
Well, and they got what's his name from the Bills? The wide receiver, Diggs.
Oh gosh,
So
yeah,
so he'll be happy for 2 seasons and then they'll start complaining and stuff. So they're good for 2 years with a killer wide receiver. I think that that's definitely a team that is a big one to watch for sure. Yeah, NFC doesn't have a ton. AFC seems to be more exciting, which is good. The easier path for us to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you guys are the JV.
Is that so? All right.
Were you talking about in the conference or in the league?
Your whole division. Your division is the JV. Your conference.
To be fair, the toughest division in the NFC, you could argue, is the No, you can't even say the NFC North.
Oh, see, I would totally say the NFC North.
You can't say the East either.
Definitely not the East.
No, and that only leaves the South. No.
Yeah.
So if not the NFC West, then which one then?
That's how weak it all is, though. You just named off all them divisions that are and yours is not even that tough. So you look, who's going to challenge you guys in your division? Really?
Seattle. Seattle and the Rams every year.
Wait, you mean in the NFC or just in the NFC West?
In our division.
In the West, in the NFC West.
Maybe the Rams.
I don't think the 4 games between the Rams and Seattle, I expect all those to be close games.
Yeah.
Seattle is they're gonna be who they are. And the Rams, they lost. O'Donnell's not on the team anymore, so their defense is gonna take a step back. You guys,
like that.
You guys have got the weakest division, okay?
Hey, Joe, Greg's not falling for it this time. I'm trying to set him up again by saying how hard it is going to be in our division. We go sweep the division. You heard it here first.
I told you that. You should. If you don't,
unless we wrap up home field early like we did last year, then sit
Arizona.
down.
You better watch Arizona. That's what you guys better watch.
Stop it.
Yeah. We'll watch them in our rearview mirror.
All right, you guys. So next week, hopefully both of us are happy because that means we both won. And we'll get Brother House back on here and he can talk with I'm sure he's picking the Raiders to go to the Super Bowl because that's usually where he's got, man. He is positive thinking. I can appreciate that.
I like his thinking also. You know,
very you can't.
I'm doing the rope-a-dope. I'm doing the rope-a-dope on you guys.
Yeah.
If you beat Kansas City at Kansas City, then that'll open some eyes. You got to beat them there.
Or they beat Kansas City once every year and it doesn't matter anyways.
They got to go into Arrowhead and take it to them, just like Detroit did to start the season. They got to go in their hostile environment and play them.
We're gonna sweep them. How about that? We're sweeping them this year.
Oh,
here we go. Here we go.
Okay.
Okay. And he'll jump the shark. All right, guys. Until next week, enjoy the weekend and all the games, and I'm sure FSU will lose again this weekend, which will be funny. And we'll see you guys next Tuesday.
It's gonna be hilarious.
Raiders.
Niners, baby. Bang bang.